Okay, the other day when we left off class, I started completing the square with y'all. So we're going to pick up from there and take off with completing the square. That will be, I'll just put one on the board and it's coming up right now. I think we did x squared. What was the one we did yesterday or started on?
X squared plus 4x plus 4 equals 7 plus 4.
X squared plus 4x
Minus
7
0.
is equal to, okay, minus 7 is equal to 0.
So are you starting that?
Yeah, I'm starting it over, yeah, because there were some people that wasn't here. Now, this is in the form of a quadratic equation. Now, and I'm going to cover what I covered the other day. When you have a quadratic equation, there's several ways you can find the X-intercepts. And that's what we're doing. When you do this problem, you basically have a problem that looks like a parabola or a horseshoe. And it crosses the x-axis at several places. And algebraically, you can find those places by doing reverse FOIL, quadratic formula, or completing the square. So you're going to, usually when you have a problem like this is called a quadratic equation, you're going to have something like this. And I showed this to y'all the other day. And when you do completing the square or reverse FOIL, you're actually finding the X what? Intercepts. That's what you're finding. But completing the square will also give you the vertex, which is that point right there, your highest or lowest point. So that's why, you know, I wrote down the ways that you can find the X-intercepts. And I told you that the first one was reverse FOIL.
Have a new message on
And
Facebook.
2 was the quadratic formula. And 3 is completing the square. And what did I tell you about reverse FOIL? You can only use it sometimes. So it's not good 100% of the time. So we teach it to you so you know how to break down a quadratic. That's why we teach you how to do the reverse FOIL. It's a good introductory material to show you, and then you hopefully graduate to this. Why do I not use quadratic formula? It tells you, it basically teaches you to fit it on the calculator. All right? Now, when do you use the quadratic formula? You use the quadratic formula when you have one of these. What are those? Huh? Decimals. And that's the best time to use the quadratic formula. I do not give you decimals, so we don't use the quadratic formula. Why do people learn the quadratic formula? Because it's the easiest one for teachers to teach students, because they tell them to use the what? Calculator. This one is the easiest one to use, and it's the less restrictive. You can use complete and square with any problem you are given. And you use elementary mathematics. That's the one that should be taught to you in high school. They don't, because they don't want to have to teach you the fractions that you don't know, because you don't know them, because the teacher that taught you fractions didn't know how to teach you fractions, probably like mine in elementary school, and they just skipped over it. So, this is what we use. So, x squared plus 4x minus 7 is equal to 0. First thing you do is you move c. Now, this is in the form of a quadratic equation, and I'm going to write it right up under here. ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. And I'm just showing you what's what. That 1 right there, that's your a. That b is 4, and c is negative 7. Now, showing you that, the first thing you do with completing the square is move c. That's the first thing you do. Now, as I said the other day, it's kind of funny when I tell students to move c, the first question I get is what? Where are you moving? And you don't need to ask that question because it's kind of silly to ask it. Why? Well, there's only one place you can what? Move it. And where is that? The other side. I love it when students ask that. Where are we moving? Don't think like that for a minute. It's on the left-hand side of the equal sign. So where do you think you're going to move it? On the right-hand side. And is that thing still saving?
Yes.
Or is it?
It's almost halfway.
Okay.
Not quite.
All right. Well, the good thing is when y'all are doing a problem, I can take that hard drive and bring it over here, and hopefully that thing can load it while it leaves alone. Okay. So I'm going to move C. Here we go. X squared plus 4x plus blank is equal to 7 plus blank. And I also tell students that when they move C, also add blanks on both sides. Okay, now let's talk about that. Is that difficult? All right, so let's don't make that difficult. All right, add C's on both sides. I mean, add your C or move your C and add blanks on both sides. Okay? Now, the second step is to take B, divide by what? 2, and square it. So, let's do that. That's the second step. Take B, divide it by 2, and square it. So in that case, what's our B? 4 over 2. And I'm going to square it. 4 over 2 is 2. And 2 squared is what?
4.
And that 4 goes here and there. So I'm gonna put that in red. There's my 4. I'm gonna make that red. And that 4 goes here and there. Now, we basically have on the left-hand side, and I'm going to take a blue marker, 100% of the time, after you do step number 2, number 3 is an observation, you have shortcut number 1 or number 2 on the left-hand side. And that's what you're supposed to have. Using completing the square, the b over 2, and square it, you are setting up the left-hand side to be shortcut number 1 or shortcut number 2. What is the signifier that tells you which shortcut it is? will tell you what it is. So, 3 is an observation. 4. X squared plus 4x plus 4 is equal to 11. And shortcut number 1 is right there. And that we can rewrite it, x plus 2 quantity squared is equal to 11. Now at this point, we pretty much have done completing the square. Completing the square is done. Now we're going to find the vertex and the X-Intercepts. And I'm going to do that on the next page. So make sure you get up to this point. And you might want to put a note here, shortcut number 1, and then draw an arrow here. Okay? So, x plus 2 quantity squared is equal to 11. And yesterday, or Monday, when we went over this, we stopped right about here. And I told you to draw 2 arrows. And on this side, you're going to find your vertex. And to find the vertex, you take the opposite. And over here, we put X-intercepts. And I put solve for X. Alright, so let's find the vertex. What's the opposites? Well, there's only 2 things you can pull the opposite off of. And what are they? The 2 and the what? And the 11. It's the only 2 numbers we got. So what's the opposite of 2?
-2.
And what's the opposite of 11?
-11.
And that is your vertex. Now I'm going to rewrite my equation over here. X plus 2 quantity squared is equal to 11. And I want you to solve that for X. Do that right quick. And if you can't, just meditate. Okay, how do you undo squaring something? So I'm going to do that in red so you can remember it. To undo a square, you take the square root. It's called the square root principle. If you have x squared is equal to 10, take the square root of both sides, and your answer is x is equal to positive or negative. Now, let's talk about that. I'm going to rewrite this as x plus 2 is equal to positive or negative square root of 11. Now, why did I say positive or negative square root of 11? Because when you take the square root of a number, the answer can be positive or it can be what? Negative. And let me explain that. Now, what I'm going to do is just go to another page. Okay, we're going to come back to that page. I'm going to tell you why. The square root of 25 is equal to positive or negative 5. The reason that is because what is positive 5? What is positive 5 times positive 5? 25. And what is negative 5 times negative 5? So the square root of 25 can either be positive 5 or it can be what? Negative 5. And that's why you get this right here. Now, I haven't taken the square root of 11 yet, and I will. But right now, I'm showing you why it comes up to be positive or negative because of this. So you need to write that down if you have that question. Right there. Okay? Maybe right, circle that and because of that. Now, here's our positive or negative 11. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick to find the square root of 11. Because the whole reason for completing the square is so you can use elementary mathematics. Square root of 9 is equal to 3. Square root of 16 is equal to 4. There's two things that we can do right here. It's called interpolate. Interpolate means take a half of a half of a half of a half until you find what you need. That's called interpolation, not interpretation. Interpolation. Used a lot in engineering. What's halfway between 3 and 4? 3.5. So if I find halfway point here, I got the halfway point of this is equal to the halfway point of that. So 9 to 16 is 7. Half of 7 is what? 3.5 plus 9 is?
Have a new message on Facebook.
12.5.
We mean 9 and 16 or 7. Oh, because of the 4 and 3?
The difference. What's the difference between 9 and 16?
Oh, okay.
7. And half of 7 is 3.5. And 9 plus 3.5 is 12.5. So the square root of 12.5 is around 3.5. Now, this is estimation. All right? We're not splitting hairs here. We're just trying to plot a point. This is close enough to plot a point. All right, we don't have 11. We have 12.5, so let's do it again. What's half of 3.5? 1.75. That's right, class. So what's 9 plus 1.75? 10.75. And what is between $3 and $3.50? It's a miracle. So 10.75, I'm sorry, that's pretty close to what? 11. So the square root of 11 is what? 3.3? Somebody do it on a calculator. What's the square root of 11? 3.31. That's a miracle. 3.3. So x plus 2 is equal to positive or negative what? Now the reason I don't care about the 3.31256 is because we're trying to plot an X-intercept. You and nobody in this room is going to be able to plot 3.3125. So 3.3 is close enough. Now x is equal to positive or negative 3.3 minus 2. And that will give us our two X-intercepts. What's 3.3 minus 2? What's $3.30 minus $2? $1.30, 1.3. That's one X-intercept. You owe somebody $3.30. You owe somebody $2. What do you owe them? And there's your two X-intercepts. Again, have we used a lot of high-tech math? No. We've not used anything really that isn't above. The only thing that we've used above the 7th grade level is shortcut.
Okay, and then the 5.3, all you do is add the 2 instead of
Positive 3.3 minus 2. Negative 3.3 minus 2. So now let's plot everything. There's one more thing that you can get from the quadratic equation that you don't have to do a lot of math. Let's go back to the original equation right here. What if I want to find the Y-intercept? What do I plug in for what?
0 for X.
Good job. Good job. So 0 for X takes out what? First two terms, Hubert. That's right. What does that leave? So what is the, well, don't worry about that. What is the X-intercept? I mean the Y-intercept? Negative 7. So, let's go back and let's write down everything. Our vertex, look at our vertex. What was our vertex?
1.3.
No.
Negative 2,
-2, -11. Our Y-intercept is 0, -7. And our X-intercepts is negative 5.3, comma 0. And X-intercept on the right is, don't drink all my tea.
I'm not.
5.3 and 1.3, comma 0. Now plot those 4 points. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be exact. Draw you a X and Y axis and draw those 4 points. You didn't tell me it was done. Oh, it's not done. 98%. That means it'll take an hour for the last 2%. -2, -11, -2, -11 is way down here. 0, thank you. 0, -7, right about there. -5.3, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1.3, 1, 2, 1.3 is right in there. And what does it look like? It looks like, now in Math 110, that's what you're going to be doing the first couple of units, for those of you that's doing Math 110. So it might behoove you to learn how to do this now. That way when you see it next semester, you won't go, because I guarantee you there's some high school students in here that's going, I've never seen that before in my life. You should have. You should have seen it the last 2 years you were in algebra. Or algebra 2 and pre-cal.
I saw it in pre-cal, but it was a very
I bet you didn't go over it very long. I bet you drilled the quadratic formula in there,
yeah.
didn't they?
We even have a song.
Oh, God.
And a stage.
And if I asked you for the vertex,
Good thing,
so, thanks. All right, so I'm going to give you a nerdin', and I want you to do it. Okay? I want you to try to do it. If you can't, that's okay. Meditate. X squared minus 6x minus 4 is equal to 0. All right, I want y'all to work on that. And I'm going to pause. Remind me to turn this back on when I start. I hope it didn't stop recording. Hold on, I gotta make sure my settings and camera and action. Okay. And I started this one and it's good. All right, so here's our problem, and we're going to move C, x squared minus 6x plus blank is equal to 4 plus blank. All right, now what?
Put negative 6 over 2.
Well, you don't have to do negative 6 because it's going to come out to be positive. It doesn't matter. You can put negative 6, but it's going to come out to be positive. So 6 over 2 and square it. The square makes everything positive. And that's 3 squared, which is what?
9.
And that 9 goes in
Blank.
blanks. And what is that going to give us on the left-hand side? Shortcut number 2. X minus 3 quantity squared is equal to what? Now you do your 2 arrows. The left arrow is the opposite, which gives us our vertex. The right arrow gives us our X-Intercepts, and we solve for X. So we'll take that on the next page. It would be nice to know from the forward. Alright, so there's our problem. And what's our vertex? Be positive 3 and negative 13. And our X-intercepts, x minus 3, quantity squared, is equal to 13. I'm going to do the radical in red so you remember that that is coming from somewhere else. You know, to undo a square, you take the square root of both sides. And that's going to give you x minus 3 is equal to, well, a while ago, I think we said the square root of 12.5 is equal to 3.5, did we not? Didn't we say that on the last problem? Huh? So it would be about 3.6? Okay. So positive or negative, 3.6. And just the square root of 9 is equal to 3. square root of 16 is equal to 4. 3.5 is in the middle, and we said that this was 12.5 right here, because half of 7 is 3.5. 3.5 plus 9 is 12.5.
Okay. That's what confuses me.
Find the middle.
Are you always going to do the square root of 16 and the square root of 9?
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. If I have the square root of 24, what am I going to use?
You're going to break it up.
Square root of 25, square root of 16. Because 24 is between 16 and 25. But you automatically know that that's going to be around 4.9, because what's the square root of 25? So that's around 4.9. Okay, but you pick your squares depending on where that is. Square root of 68. The square root of 68 would be between the square root of 64 and the square root of 81. Because it's between those two. You know your perfect squares. So you put it between two perfect squares, it fits between.
So what you're doing is when it doesn't match with anything.
You find it.
But why would you do like, oh gosh, why would you do like 25 and then drop down to another one? Why put so odd?
That's only two. That's only two. Square root of 15. What's the square root of 15 go between? Square root of 9, square root of 16. Square root of 36. It's going to be between the square root of 12. Square root of 36 is 6. Square root of 32 is going to be between square root of 25 square root of 36. They're going to be between one of the perfect squares. Somewhere. And your job is to find where it is. And you do that by taking half, 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 and eventually you'll get to it. Alright, so there's that. And x is equal to positive and negative 3.6 plus 3. And 3.6 plus 3 is what?
6.6.
And negative 3.6, you owe somebody $3.60. You have $3. What's the outcome?
0.6.
You owe 60 cents. So there's your two X-intercepts. Here's your vertex. And what's the Y-intercept? Let's go back and look. The Y-intercept is, okay, so let's write all that down. The Y-intercept is 0,
Have a new
Negative
message
4.
on Facebook.
my vertex is what? 3 and negative 13. And our X-intercepts are 6.6. What was it?
I got negative 0.6 comma 0
Yeah, and what's the other one?
and 0 comma 6.6.
6.6. You just wrote the Y-intercept. 0 to 6.6. It's supposed to be 6.6 and 0. And negative 0.6.
Oh, so you don't want to see.
Yeah, but you put, this is the way you write it. You had 0 and 6.6. It's supposed to be 6.6 comma 0. You had 0 and 6.6. At least that's what you said. You said 0 comma 6.6. That's the Y-intercept. So this is the X-intercept. Negative 0.6 and 0. So draw it. Sketch it, I'm sorry. The reason I say sketch it is because you don't have a bunch of points. All you have is 4 points. So 0, negative 4. And 3, negative 13. Way down here. 6.6. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6.6 is right in there. And negative 0.6 be right in there. and everything lines up pretty good. Now, you can always go to your graphing calculator and check it.
Whenever, before, I was asking people about doing the square of 9 and the square of 16.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is like me, but do you have to do that? Because when you do the square root of 13, when you get the 3.6, you have to do the 9 and 16 to know that they're in between, or is that how you?
That's how you find it, yes.
But if you find that, the 3.6, you don't have to do the square of 9 and all that stuff, you already have the 3.6. Like, okay.
I'm trying to understand your question.
Okay, like, right here, if you already have found that,
How will you already found that? No. But have I told anybody the calculator out yet? There is no calculator.
But-
I'm telling you how to find it without using a calculator.
no, I know that, but even when you do the square point and not, you won't get the exact point, you'll just know it's in between there
It's
somewhere.
around there, yes. That's what it, and that's what we're doing, we're sketching. Now, if I asked you to graph it, then I would tell you to punch the calculator.
So it don't matter if it's just around there.
It's around there, 3.6, 3.62, 3.5, I'm fine with any of those.
Okay, so it don't have to be.
It doesn't have to be exact, no.
Okay.
Now, let's take the graphing calculator out. If some of you have not, did I give you all the app for the graphing calculator? Go under Wabbit. Hold on. I have to look it up. I forget it every single time. Hold on. Give me a second. I think it's Wabbit. Wabbit.
You need a high functioning calculator for probability and statistics.
Well, that's what I'm fixing to give you. No, you just use it on your phone. TI-83. Wabbit, EMU. Let me write it down on the board. I'm going to get 15 people to say, huh? Go to your phone. Get your phone out. Yes, that's what I'm telling you to do. Get your phone out. And go to Wabbit, EMU. And you can download your handy dandy calculator on your phone. It's going to ask you to make a table. Go ahead and do that. Hit yes. It'll make a table so that way you can pull it up whenever you want to. What do you say? I just pulled it up.
EMU.com.
Wabbit, EMU. No, just go to your apps. This is what you should have when it comes up.
Oh, your apps.
Yeah,
Okay.
on your phone. And you can pull up a TI-83, a TI-89, and not have to spend 60, 80 bucks on it. Okay? You got a big screen like the LG or the, what's it called, the Samsung 5S. You have a big screen, then it looks real nice. And you don't have to go buy a $125 calculator. So when you go to 120 next semester, you taking my 120? I've got 3 of them. Just been given the 3rd one.
When is it? I'm taking when I have it.
Yeah. Huh?
When is it?
I gotta post it. I'll post it here in a little bit. It was given yesterday afternoon. And 109. Anyway,
What's 109?
it's for business majors.
Is 110 still gonna transfer?
Yeah. It'll transfer with 111 as Math or Science 105 at Clemson, which is pre-calculus. It'll transfer as a math elective. Won't transfer as your, all they see in sciences and engineering is Calc 1. That's all they see. Anything above Calc 1. So you ain't got there yet. All right, what am I looking
So I
for?
have to take 110 and 11 for it to change?
Yep.
transfer.
Mm-hmm. All right, here's your TI-83. To graph your handy-dandy parabola, you type in y is equal in the top left-hand corner, and then you type in, what was our problem? X squared, what? X squared minus what? 6x, or what was it? The original equation. Huh?
Minus 6x.
Minus 6x minus 4. And that's what you type in, and you hit graph. Now we're going to zoom out a little bit because you need to see it so you can see your, so just give me a second and I'll zoom that out a little bit, and then I'll go in and zoom box, and this is just stuff that I like to do, so just bear with me. You can do it in window if you want to, but I do it in box because I actually see what I'm doing. And there's your graph. And of course, if you want to find your Y-intercepts or your X-intercepts, you can do it roughly by hitting trace and then find the vertex. That's your lowest point right about there. Our vertex is -3 and -13. Is that correct? I'm sorry, 3 and -13. Let's find our Y-intercept. Roughly, Y-intercept looks like about right there. I got 0, -4. X-intercept on the left is -0.6. X-intercept on the right is 6.59 or 6.6. So you can actually sketch the graph just as good as a calculator can do it. And you didn't use any math except 7th grade and below. What do you think? Well, you'd be surprised. In the fall, I'll have a lot of students from high school that just graduated, and I'll show the complete the square in 102 and 110, and they'll have no clue how to do it. And the parts with the fractions, because you're going to get into fractions. I'm going to show you a fraction here in just a minute. Oh my God. It's like a meltdown. All right, so let's try one with the fractions.
It's going to be a meltdown.
Yep. All right, y'all ready? X squared plus 3x plus or minus 7 is equal to 0. Now what I would like for you to do is to work it as much as you can without having a meltdown. And if you get to a point where you think you're going to have a meltdown, just do your hands like this and go on, meditate. hold on. I'm gonna get you there. X squared plus 3x plus blank is equal to 7 plus blank. There's about 3 types of students here. The first student goes, okay, 3 divided by 2 is 1.5, 1.5. Okay, that's your program students. That's your students that we're taught how to use a calculator all the time. Second type of student goes 3 over 2 is 3 halves. 3 halves quantity squared is maybe 9/4, and then they start going through. Okay, then they start completing. And then the third one goes, I don't know how to do it, complete it. Yeah, there you go. All right, so here's how you're supposed to do it. What did I tell you we don't want to rely on? The calculators. So you don't want to use a what? Decimal. You want to use a fraction because we can all do fractions in our head because it's basically 6th grade, 7th grade and below math. So 3 divided by 2 is 3 halves. 3 halves squared is what? 9/4. Okay. All right, now, you know if you do shortcut number 1, you take the square root of the first term, square root of the last term, and put it in a square. So that's going to be x plus 3 halves, quantity squared, is equal to, here it comes, 28/4 plus 9/4.
Wait a minute, I don't understand.
That's what usually comes out after I do that.
Where did 28/4 come from?
I'm going to let y'all figure it out. Yes, sir. Don't ask me where 28/4 comes from.
No, I missed something on the last.
Okay?
I know where it is, but
When you do shortcut number 1, you take the square root of the first term and the square root of the last term and put it in there. What's the square root of x squared? What's the square root of 9/4? Yep.
So you just take it back down.
Now, how does that help? So, our equation looks like x plus 3 halves, quantity squared, is equal to 37/4. Help me out. All right, take it to the next page, or I'm going to take it to the next page, and then want you to find the vertex, which is ink opposites, and solve it. So x, hold on a second, x plus 3 halves, quantity squared, is equal to what? 37/4. All right, who's got a question? About school. What's your question?
I can either take 110 and 111 here, or calculate AP at one time and do it. If I pass the AP test and I do it, calculate credit.
That's up to you. I would much rather take pre-calculus in a 14-week format than in one semester format with PP calculus. That's my own opinion. Here. I'm going to ask Pat to change for that and give us a right. I want one because you drank my tea. All right? Okay, just get one. Okay? Go. Did you get to take the money? I asked you if you wanted to. I said, give me one. Go. All right. So, take the square root of both sides, or find your opposite, and that's negative 3/2, comma, negative 37/4. And there's your vertex. And then we're going to solve it. X plus 3/2 quantity squared is equal to 37/4. And then how do you undo a square? Square root. That's going to give us x plus 3/2 is equal to positive or negative square root of 37/4. I'm sorry, over 2. Now, before you blurt out, I don't understand. If I put the whole thing under the square root, I can't take 37 in my head right quick, other than I know it's 6.1. How do I know that? Well, square root of 36 is 6. So what would square root of 37 do? It's just a miracle. 6.1. All right? So somebody look it up. What's square root of 37 right quick? Oh, I know somebody's sitting there. I don't think that's right. And 6.08 rounds to 6.1. All right. So that's how I did it. This whole thing is taking the square root. So what's the square root of 4? 2. Square root of 37, I'm going to do it in just a second. You can do it now or you can do it later. I don't care. I'm just going to do it when I bring this over. I'll do it all at one time. So x is equal to positive or negative 6.1 minus 3. And all of that is over what? 2, because these are common what? Denominators. You don't have to put 1, 2. You can put 2 2's if you want to. I don't care. It's still the same thing. Well, you bring it over like this. So negative 3 over 2. Like that. And if you do it like this, and then do it like this. Eventually, you're going to get this. Eventually. At least she's getting mad at me. All right. 6.1 minus 3 is what? What's $6.10 minus $3? $3.10. What's half of $3.10? It's a miracle. Somebody said $1.55. But if I ask you to say 6.1 minus 3, what will y'all reach for? You'll reach for a calculator. But if I put it in money, you'll do it in your head. $6.10 minus $3 is $3.10. $3.10, half of $3.10 is $1.55. So, one X-intercept is what? 155. All right, let's do the other one. You owe $6.10. You owe $3. You owe $9 and what? 10 cents. What's half of $9.10? 455. All right, I want everybody to sketch it now. No, I don't go back. We passed that point. Huh?
Negative
All right, so negative 3/2 is negative what? Negative 1.5. If you would have thought you said no, well, we'll graph it. I'm going to change it to a fraction of a decimal so I can graph it. 4 will go in there, what, 9 times 9.25? So there's your vertex, negative 1.5 and negative 9. Supposed to look for government work. And of course, right now, our government's pretty much a piece of crap, so it doesn't matter where you put it. I mean, VA shot, our Benghazi thing, that's shot. What else?
Social Security shot.
Oh gosh, the IRS, they're a fiasco. Damn foolish. It's all his fault. All right. 1.55 is right here. Negative 4.55 is right there. What's our Y-intercept? Look, I don't have the original. What's the original?
0, -7.
0, -7. And look there, everything what? Lines up here. That's right. Piece of cake. We're going to do one more fraction. That way you'll have 4 problems to look at for your test, which you'll have 2 questions. You'll have one that's a whole number and one that's a fraction problem. If I don't give you 4 or 5. I don't know what I'll tell you to do. I don't know what I might just say complete the square and give me the x value, or I might say find the vertex and the x value, and the x-intercept. All right, ready? X squared minus 5x plus 1 is equal to 0. Thank you. Oh, you decided to get a Reese cup too?
Mm-hmm.
Should I get any money back?
No,
Okay.
no shame.
No, you can keep it. Just keep it in your pocket. You can keep it. I said you can keep it. You kept the dollar.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
The dollar's right there.
Oh, well, I told you you can keep it here.
Oh.
Okay, fine. I'll spend it.
No. Thank you.
All right, go ahead and sketch it also. I want you to sketch it. For those of you that haven't quit yet. Oh my God, like I shalom. Huh?
I didn't quit, I got stuck. You don't believe in me. Ow. Aw.
He gets that from me. Just don't call her a loser. I'm the only one that can call her that. You know what's more aggravating than a toothache? An ulcer.
Yes, it is.
I cut my tongue, or bit my tongue, and an ulcer came up. And it is painful.
I get stressed also. I drink a lot of stuff.
Alright. X squared minus 5x plus blank is equal to -1 plus blank. Now the reason I gave you this problem was to show you that sometimes you will have a negative on the other side. And when you do, you don't quit or you don't erase it, you just keep going. Half of 5 is what? 5 halves, Hubert. And 5 halves squared is what? Good job. All right. Now, what does that give you here? Shortcut number what? X minus 5 halves quantity squared is equal to -4 fourths plus 25 fourths. All right, I'm going to give y'all, since I've given you a little kick, maybe y'all can finish it out.
That was my question from the last problem. How, I know where you got the 25 fourths. Where are you getting that first fraction?
I don't know. Have to have a common what?
You have a common number, but
You have 1/1, so you got to change the denominator to what? 4, and 1 will go in 4 times.
so you get this common denominator of
4.
25 over 4 and -1 over 1.
Well, you got to get a common denominator. This is -1/1
So
right
if
here.
it did 25 over 8, you get
It'd be
-8.
8/8.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, that's the one thing I never understood when people were posting all the pictures about planking, and they'd be like balancing on trash cans, and then street signs, and you're like, you never saw that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about, because Plankton's
A
doing
guy
the
fell off a
gym.
building doing it and died.
I mean, I was like, I never knew how that came about.
In the gym. Because you plank in the gym when you're doing
But you
core
don't
exercises.
plank like that. You plank with your elbows or your arms under you.
Yeah, but your torso is holding pretty much everything up. That's just a
true.
core exercise. Now, people do it on buildings, they're just dumb.
Why does one friend post a picture, she was planking inside of a trash
And
can, like
it's
coming
like, oh
out?
my God.
She was planking.
You already had one bag, that's enough.
I was having one.
All right, so now we've got x minus 5 halves quantity squared is equal to 21 force. Okay, now what I want y'all to do is finish it out and find the vertex and the X-intercepts.
How do you get the Y-intercept?
Plug in 0 for X on the original equation. Alright, so there is that. What's my vertex?
Five halves negative 21 fourths.
5 halves and negative 21 fourths. That's your vertex. Solving it for X, X minus 5 halves is equal to the square root of 21 over 2. I went ahead and took the square root in my head and got that. Now let's talk about the square root of 21. Square root of 21 is between the square root of 16 and the square root of what? 25. And 4.5 is in the middle. Well, where's the middle here? What's the difference between 16 and 25? 9. And what's half of 9? 4.5. 4.5 added to 16 is 20.5. What do we need? I think it's 4.6. What do y'all think? X minus 5 halves is equal to positive or negative 4.6 over 2. And now bring the 5 halves over, and X is equal to positive or negative 4.6 plus 5 all over 2. Now what's $4.66 plus $5? $9.60 divided by 2 is 480. Negative $4.60 plus $5 is what? 40 cents? Okay, a lot of math here. What's half of 40 cents? Check my math, make sure.
What, half of 40?
No, the 4.6, negative 4.6 plus $5, so it should be 40 cents. And this is 2.5, 2.5, comma, what, 4 will go in there, what, 4 times 4 times 5 is 5 1/4, negative 5.25. So if you was to sketch this thing, negative 2.5 and negative 5.25. And what's the Y-intercept? 0, 1. Positive 1?
Yes.
And X-intercept is 0.2 right here and 4.8. Something like that.
When you're doing the X-intercept, when you type it in for your answer,
Does the number come before the zero or after the zero?
What is, okay, you can answer that question by doing this. For the X-intercept, remember me going over this? X-intercept, what is 0? I should have went over this with graphing, but I didn't with y'all. I thought I did. For the X-intercept, what is 0? What value is 0?
X.
The X or the Y?
X.
The Y. I thought I went over that. For the Y-intercept, what's the 0 value?
X.
Always remember that.
So when you're looking for Y, zero comes first. If you're looking for X, zero comes last.
No. That's not what I want you to learn. What I want you to learn is this. Here's the Y-intercept, the Y. What is your 0 value? I mean, what is your X value on all these points right here?
Zero.
Exactly. So the X value is 0. Okay? So the 0, 3, 0, 5, 0, 7. So with your Y-intercepts, what is your X value? Always. For your X-intercepts, what's the 0 value? Well, this is 3, 0. This is 5, 0. And this is 7, 0. So what is your 0 value always on your X-intercepts? Your 0 is always the Y. It's always the opposite.
Confused with that?
All the time. All the time.
I figured that just came knowledge. I really think that confuses.
Yeah, and this is what I always do. This you won't see in a book. You won't see it in another teacher's, because this is the way I did it as a student, and that's the way I teach it. I put the X-intercept here, and I always put 0 for Y. Y-intercept here, put 0 for X. Now, that's pretty much what I'm going to give you on the test. I gave you 4 problems, 2 with B as a whole number, and 2 as B with a prime number that's going to give you a fraction. Okay? So on the test, you'll probably get one of each. All right? And it'll probably be very similar to the ones we did. I'm not going to change the numbers that much. Okay? All right, so let's talk about, I'm going to cut off the video right now because I'm going to talk about stuff for the end of the semester.